Hi, and welcome to this week's episode hosted by Gray and Mark Lawson, John's Health and Fitness, and Mark Elm of Leeds Beckett University, where we take training theory and science onto the gym floor.
Hey up everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Yorkshire Fitness Podcast. Welcome back, Mark. Initially, we'll just go Mark and Mark. Welcome back.
Afternoon, chaps.
We've got another guest on as well today. We are going to discuss the benefits, or we're just going to have a good discussion about foam rolling, Theragun therapy and trigger points. So we've got a bit of a specialist on today as a guest. So we'd just like to welcome Ed, who is a bit of a colleague of Mark's over at Leeds Beckett. That's right, Ed. So before I probably won't go into detail, Ed, trying to explain things. We'll just pass over to you if that's all right, and just have a bit of a brief description of what you do. What's your day-to-day role?
Yeah, so I'm a senior lecturer at Leeds Beckett on the sport and exercise therapy degree, and I'm also the clinic manager. So we run, to provide placement for our students and provide a service, we run a clinic that offers a free service to the staff and students at Leeds Beckett. And so I manage that, and we supervise the students in the clinic. And I've been here for the last couple of years from another academic institution. And then prior to that, I've had my own clinic business, private practice business for about 15 years, alongside teaching, and then teaching's now taken over. So currently I'm, like I say, senior lecturer, sort of split my week between teaching and managing the clinic.
Great stuff. Very good. Thanks, mate. What do you two kind of cross over? Do you kind of get to work with it? Are you working with similar students or the same students?
So it's a short answer. Our sports therapy students will do modules up at Carnegie, at the Carnegie School of Sport, and the sports therapy degree has a strong underpinning of sports science behind it, but we have quite a large intake for our courses, so they have bespoke sports science modules, if that makes sense, rather than, so we don't teach across, or I don't teach any of the students outside the sports therapy students. Mark's from that sports coaching background, so the modules don't really cross over. I met Mark as a user, if you like, of the clinic, and got to know him over the last few years. I've been here, like I say, full-time role for the last couple of years, but I started in 2015 as like a visiting lecturer and part-time lecturer, so I've known him for a few years now.
Very good.
Go on.
No, I basically said I keep going to the clinic for Ed to fix me. That's basically how I got to know Ed. I'm not broken, we got to know each other very well.
Yeah.
Is this to do with your squatting only training method?
It may have come up in conversation.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
Generally, basically, yeah. No muscle group I've got is free of scar tissue, so it's effectively everything. Not to do squatting, it's everything. Just living day-to-day life.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, Ed. So when you say your sports therapy, or what sort of things do you cover on that then? So that'll like lead us into where we might end up going with this chat. Like, so what sort of things do you cover with that? What you're doing?
Yeah. So we train sort of specifically, if you like, to work with musculoskeletal injuries, neuromusculoskeletal injuries that occur in sport. We educate students to work with the athlete from the point of injury, so providing that immediate first aid, right through to the point of return to play. So our aim is always to get them back to the same level of fitness if possible, or even better than they were prior to getting injured. So we're looking at rehabbing that injury. We're looking at sort of that holistic approach of looking after their fitness as well as during that rehabilitation process. So diagnosing what the injury is, providing a course of treatment, a course of rehabilitation for it. And then part of that is obviously working, I have a background, like I say, in clinical practice, but also working pitchside in rugby or for a rugby team. And so then we look at how do we prevent injuries. And so advice on speaking to people about mobility. Like if you just squat all the time, mobility in certain areas gets kind of held up a little bit, maybe. And so it sort of covers that aspect really. And then, like I said, we work within, the beauty of the clinic at Leeds Beckett here is that Leeds Beckett has such a strong sort of sporting reputation, sporting background, and there are, loads and loads of different sports going on. So our students in the clinic will see people who go to the gym, people who play for all the various teams, and get that experience of all those different injuries. So then we've got to work out, the sport specific demands of what that patient, what that athlete's going to do, and then how do we rehab them back to hopefully full health if we can.
Right. Very so yeah, it's quite in depth, then, isn't it? Really. So you're almost
yeah.
So it's not physiotherapy, is it? But it's
no. So the key thing, I mean, it's a question we get asked a lot, and it's a valid question. Is like what the key differences between a physio and a sports therapist. And so the scope, if you think about our scope of practice as a sports therapist is perhaps narrower, or well, it is definitely narrower because we don't cover like the stroke rehab, cardiac rehab, neuro. We do some neurological assessment, but not in as depth as like the neuro for obviously a neurophysio will. But we have that underpinning of sport and sports science within the degree program. So we're there to work with those athletes. Graduates should have an understanding of the physiological demands of sport to then get these athletes back doing the sport that they love.
Right, very good. So I suppose then it leads on to the type of things that you do then, and the benefits are the plus, like for foam rolling and Theraguns, or the things that normal people, that people can just use in day-to-day life to help themselves if they've got niggles, or if it just helps with mobility and that type of thing, I suppose, really.
Yeah, so lots of these, like if we take the massage guns, massage balls, foam rollers, trigger point therapy balls, which are essentially the same as massage balls, then it comes under this sort of umbrella of self-massage. Some might call it self-myofascial release, and it's this kind of self-treatment to then help with mobility, help with reducing pain, and it's an area that really divides opinion. So you'll have people who foam roll every day, love it, swear by it, and you'll have people who'll say it just doesn't do anything. There's no evidence for it. It doesn't work. And I think I'm somewhere in the middle, and hopefully I'll be able to explain why a bit in terms of I think it's one of those that if you feel that you're getting benefit from it and it fits within your program, then okay. There are things that we need to consider, which we'll come on to in a bit. But if you don't like foam rolling, like you try it and you just can't get away with it, you don't like doing it, then don't do it. There are other things that you can do. I find it frustrating that it's like lots of things. It's either got to be you're for it or against it. It's just not like that. I think what we find with these things is that I would take the proposed benefits of them by the various companies that sell the product with a pinch of salt. I don't think quite often it's the sold that they'll break down scar tissue, that they'll break down adhesions within the muscles, that they'll do this, do that, and that's where the research is lacking. But they can help people feel more comfortable after. If they've got tightness in the legs, they've got soreness in the legs, and they go and foam roll then for a short period after, then they can help them feel better. They feel a bit more comfortable. And I think so long as we recognise that there are important safety considerations to take into account when we look at either as sort of professionals, either as healthcare professionals, as sports, sports therapists, physios, whatever your profession, or as sports professionals in terms of personal trainers. If we're advising people to do foam rolling or to do trigger point release or self massage, then there is a responsibility on us for the duty of care of that athlete, and to make sure that we check that they don't have any contraindications to, or reasons why they can't have that particular treatment. And I think that's really important. I think that gets lost in some cases, and so then we see either articles or news items about damage or injuries caused by using the different products. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not that you shouldn't use it, it's that there's things that you need to take into consideration, and you need to consider what are you using it for, what's your aim, why are you trying to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Good advice. We'll go a little bit further into detail. That first, can I just add? We've got foam rollers kind of on gym floor. We'll use foam rollers ourselves a little bit, but just just before, if we've got a bit of soreness before we train from session day before. I've had a few question me as members that have come in. It's like, and they've kind of seen it's like, oh, should I be foam rolling before I work out? And I'm kind of a little bit like you. I just say, if you want to do it, if you've done it before and you like it and it makes you feel better, yeah, I'm not going to tell you must get here early and start foam rolling and doing it before each workout. So could you just say, is the benefits, has it been shown, say not sportsmen or women, just average gym goers who come to do a good workout, is the benefits for them to be seen?
Yeah, potentially. In terms of, there was one of the studies that kind of really, in our professions, there's usually something that happens, like a study that goes on, and then people take the results of that and just absolutely run with it. And there was a study a good few years ago now that looked at use of foam rollers prior to doing I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a strength training session. And they found that there was an improvement in range of movement, with no subsequent loss of strength. Okay, because that's one of the issues. Like if people ask about stretching and doing lots of static stretching prior to like a lifting session or a power session, then there might be a loss of strength or power as a result of essentially doing that stretching. And they found that with the foam roller that you didn't seem to get that loss of strength. Now, there was only about 10 people in that study, but what you might find is that if people are coming in and, like you say, they're feeling a bit tight from a previous training session, they foam roll a bit, it means that they can get into position more comfortably to do that session, to do that strength session. If you think of it as like maybe foam rolling the upper back, or working or doing some work around the shoulder and just like a bit of mobility work, and that helps them like get under the bar a bit more comfortably, then that's potentially going to help in terms of their training session. Because if they're struggling for range of movement in the shoulders and they're still trying to get under the bar, if it's not coming from the shoulders, it's the movement's got to come from somewhere else. And so potentially there's a benefit to doing that. They don't need to be doing it for very long. You see people where the warm-up routine, like a foam roll, is almost longer than the whole training session, and I just don't think it needs to be that.
Yeah.
Look, I didn't say that. You said that, all right? Yeah, no, there is, and I think that's where.
Is there a time that you should spend, let's say on your glutes? Let's say you're going to loosen your glutes off before you go into a squat session. Is there a time? 1 minute,
I think
5 minutes?
You're looking like you certainly don't want to be doing more than a minute per muscle group or something like that. So you're not going to be spending more than 5-10 minutes on it, certainly.
Right.
And then you've got to consider, like, I guess the bang for your buck is that it actually. Some of you really should probably be doing some warm-up sets You know, so if you were going to do a heavy lifting session, then some of it is going to be doing some warm-up sets, and actually you'll get an improvement in your mobility just by doing the warm-up sets. So then it's a trade-off, and this is where it'll be different for different people, is that some people will be absolutely fine just doing the warm-up sets, just doing a little bit of mobility work, and they'll go into it and they'll be okay. Others will feel that they get a lot more from doing the foam rolling, in which case, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of personal preference.
I think so, and they shouldn't be like hammering into the muscles. You know, those muscles have to do some work, so they shouldn't be feeling sore after the treatment. They should be feeling easier after they've done it, especially if we're talking here about doing doing it pre your weight session, your training session. It's part of a warm-up. Warm-ups are there. They should be progressive and specific, but they're there to mentally prepare you as well for what you're about to do. So you should go into your training session after you've done whatever the mobility work is, feeling ready to do it and feeling good, rather than getting up and feeling sore because you've spent half an hour rolling around on the floor with a foam roller or a spiky ball. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. What about post-session then, Ed? Is there any benefits? Has there been like latest research out? Is there anything about there?
So, in terms of the physical effects, I think we're looking at it, and in terms of like maybe physiologically what's going on within the body, and this applies in many cases to massage as well, then the research is really limited. There does seem to be research in terms of if you think of it, more of the therapeutic relaxation effects of doing massage. It's difficult to then say, well, if that happens within a massage that's, say, provided by a sports therapist, a massage therapist, or whoever, it's difficult to say, well, that's automatically going to transfer over into doing, if you do it yourself. However, it's a lot cheaper to do it yourself if you're using like a foam roller or a massage ball. And again, if you feel better for it, you feel a bit looser. Some people really stiffen up after the sessions. Some people get quite bad DOMs. I think the evidence that it helps in terms of clearing DOMs and things after, using a foam roller to get rid of the DOMs, I think it's fairly inconclusive. It's probably being quite polite as well. I think it's that if it helps you feel a bit looser, then I think okay. Again, it comes back to sort of the safety aspect of it. If you feel that you're having to do it just to free up, just to get into your next session, then really the question that you're asking there is like, is my training plan right? Am I doing the right exercises at the right time, or am I actually overworking? And is there something wrong? Like, again, Mark, you've just popped up on the middle of my screen again. I don't know whether that was like bad timing or good timing or what, but you've got to look at, are they like overtraining? What's happening there? Is it that they're actually doing too much and they're trying to use it for recovery, but it's really painful? They're not recovering. So therefore, is it actually they just need to look at the training session with the benefit from a deload week, just to allow the body to recover a bit that way, not having that high intense training input.
That's a really good point, Ed. So I come from the SSC world where actually that capacity, you've got to, I mean, these two boys played professional rugby, so they probably know physically know better. You've got to find a get way through weeks. I remember you, Gray, used to say to me that when you went back to pre-season, literally used to live with DOMs for every day. Just crippling DOMs every day. You have to find a way of getting through it. So sometimes that external influence, like, you don't have control of that. You've got to find a way to get through it. So in those kind of situations, DOMs is something you just have to find a way to get through. Yeah. I mean, I live on the things, me. Like, I'm sitting in this particular chair right now, and all I can think about is going on, getting the foam roller out and cracking the back on the seat. Because I'm just sat in this really uncomfortable position. I was going to ask you, Ed, you mentioned there about the kind of the muscle and actually changing the muscle with the foam roller. So some of our listeners might not know why people get immobile or get tight or get. So there's one thing which is like the muscle might actually be affecting the fascia, the kind of thing that surrounds it. I was asking about kind of neural stimulation. So that's the brain basically sending signals to the muscle that keeps it turned on. I've always felt that the active foam rolling helps kind of shut that down a little bit, so the muscle is actually more relaxed and therefore doesn't feel as tense as it was before. And I don't know if there's any research on that, but it just is that a second way that might help?
Yeah, I think so. So that goes back to similar to what I was saying before about the you know, the effect on the nervous system and those sort of therapeutic effects. When we train, and if we have lots of high intensity training sessions on top of each other, then if you think of it as like the awareness of the nervous system maybe becomes a bit heightened, for want of a better expression. So then it's like it gets sore, the muscles are sore. If you think of like we've got lots of people training for the Leeds Marathon at the moment, for the Rob Burrows Marathon, and who maybe, again, lots of people going from perhaps a rugby league background and then trying to train for a marathon and then repetitive, you know, building up that running volume where they've maybe not done much of that distance training before. And so then the calves can get really, really tight. And there's no sort of specific muscle injury there as such. It's just that the nerves have almost become sensitized to running. And for some people, doing that self-massage on the foam roller can help just kind of calm things down a little bit. And it's a bit of a strange thing in that it's quite uncomfortable to do, but afterwards it seems to help things settle down a bit. And that I would say there, you might get like a localized change in the blood flow, but not perhaps massively. And in terms of if you were looking at like the lymphatic drainage, in terms of trying to get get the blood flow, get the waste products from the exercise out of the system, then you get that with elevation, or you get that also that change with light exercise as well, as just gently cycling the limb and getting that movement of the muscles. But you might find that you get through that self-massage that you might find that has an effect on the nervous system and help things settle down a little bit. And so there are potential benefits there. If people go for a massage, that one of the main reasons they go for the massage is that they hopefully feel better afterwards. And that's an effect on the brain and the central nervous system as much as anything. And so it's a similar case here, in that we're trying to calm things down, so that we can then, either in preparation for exercise or preparation for the next bout of exercise.
There you go.
Does that answer your question, Mark? Hopefully.
Yes, yeah. So you're talking about foam rollers. Now, I went to the running show a few months back, and literally it's a sales pitch, but at every corner there was somebody. Yeah, I was. No, I went with Hayley, the missus, and she loved it, and I was there with my anti-running t-shirt on, trying to tell people to squat more. But at every corner there's somebody trying to sell you something, and Theraguns was front and centre. They were there very cool. I mean, I won't even get into the Normatex, that kind of stuff, that's off the charts, but Theraguns, this kind of percussion gun system, become really, really popular now. You basically get a kind of almost like the old-fashioned mixer you used to have for your cakes. Apparently there's a gun at the end now, and you batter yourself with it. Where are we with those? Like, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Should people leave them alone? Is it helpful for the general person? Where do you stand with the Theraguns?
I mean, it's the same thing as going back to what I said at the start, is we really need to be aware of the safety precautions around using them, in that for some people they're really not a good idea. And about when you went to the running show, you didn't see much of the marketing that was sort of focused around do not use if you have any of these sort of medical conditions, or if you have any issues. And it's not, I don't think it's sort of, we don't have time to go into all the contraindications for all the different types of products and stuff. But I think there was a case of in terms of the massage guns with an athlete, a cyclist, getting rhabdomyolysis from after use of a percussion gun. And so rhabdomyolysis is where there's a breakdown of the muscle and the proteins and released into the bloodstream, and it can be really severe, and it can be really, in some cases, in really severe cases, it can be fatal. Now, here there was an underlying medical issue, but if your medical issues, my point being, if your medical issues aren't checked for, and it's just given out of, oh yeah, buy this, use this, then potentially there's real issues there, and there's real danger there to the people who are using them. I'm not, and this is an isolated case. It was applied by a coach after a cycling session with an underlying issue. It might have been that they were overtraining and doing too much cycling anyway, which was causing issues. And if the application of the percussion gun, the massage gun, was for too long, then that might have caused issues, and that might have compounded it. And we've got to remember, with case reports, it's one issue, it's one person that we're looking at. The vast majority of people, then they'll probably be okay. And again, if they help you feel good, then great. They have different treatment heads on them. Like say, they look like a cordless drill with different attachments to the end. And you can use them for different things, like working up the muscles either side of the spine, like working into like isolated areas. I would say if you're trying to stretch around and work on your own back, the muscles aren't relaxing, so you're just using a massage gun to hammer into really tight muscles. So you've got to think about the practicalities of that, because we're trying to get these muscles to relax, and if you're having to reach round, then everything in your back is probably tensing up anyway. So I think if you use them, really the sort of protocol, if you like, is, again, you're not spending more than 1 to 2 minutes on each muscle group. You're just basically going up and down the muscle. Say if you're working your quads, you go up and down the quads a few times, and then you move on and look at a different area, different muscle group, or different muscle altogether. And I think, again, some people really swear by them, say they feel great. They can be quite expensive, so you look at what benefit are you going to get from its use compared to spending 10-15 minutes easy cycling after a hard session or something like that. So I realise that's not me giving like a massive endorsement in my answer there, because I think it really depends on that individual. But again, we need to consider what are the safety precautions. Do you have any underlying health issues? If you don't, they'll probably be fine if you use them appropriately. And some people will find them really helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. What other underlying health conditions can have an issue with them? Just out of just for people.
Yeah, so if we take massage in general, then if people have an issue with sort of skin conditions that can sometimes get aggravated by the movement of the tissues and the sort of the impact on the tissues, that might be a problem. If people have issues with their sort of circulation, or if they've had any sort of deep vein thrombosis or something like that, then we wouldn't massage anyway for those conditions. If people have problems with their the sensitivity of the tissue, so if you take sort of diabetics who in the peripheries, if you like, in the hands and the feet, they can lose sensation. Then the issue there is if something is causing harm or causing irritation, and they can't feel that, then you're going to get an exacerbation of that problem, and then that might cause more issues. So they usually come, I think, when I've looked at sort of massage guns before, they usually come with a list inside the box in terms of the leaflet, which whether people read that or not. if I was getting one, I'd maybe look on the company website and have a read through and just double check that it was appropriate for me.
Right. Okay.
In your mind, I've had this asked to me a few times, Ed, as well. I'm going to fire a question at you from what I've been asked in the past. Is sports massage, is an actual hands-on massage better than foam rolling and guns?
Yeah, I think it is. I think you've got to think why you're getting it, and you've got to think of if you're like foam rolling, how relaxed are you? You know, and I think in terms of the way people foam roll, you see people like bridging up, bracing on their arms. They're almost like doing a reverse plank with one leg balanced on the foam roller and then trying to whip up and down. And it's like there's no way they're relaxing there. They're just rolling a tense muscle.
Yeah.
So maybe think about changing the position and relaxing. Whereas if you come in for a massage, you lie down on the couch, face down, you're done. Right.
Yeah, you are.
There's nothing relaxing about your massages. I can assure you, they're agony. You're not very good at them. They're just agony.
I was always told when I did my degree that it's not agony, Mark. It's therapeutic discomfort. And
I like that. I'll use that again.
But sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable. And the thing is, you keep coming back, don't you? So I think so. If you come in, if you come in for a massage, the whole environment is set up to help that person relax, or it should be. It's different when it's like pre-event at a club or something like that. But if you go to a private clinic, like see a sports therapist privately in their clinic, then you come in. There's some assessment at the start, but it's there to aim to get them to relax. It's there for their comfort, and so that all has an effect on the individual. Now, if you've got someone who doesn't like touch from other people, for instance, is uncomfortable about going to see someone and speaking to someone who finds it difficult to relax, who is worried that they can't afford the session, who struggles to fit the time in, then could they get benefit from foam rolling? Could they get benefit from using a massage ball or something like that? Then probably, yeah. And they may get more benefit because they will actually be, in many ways, more relaxed because they're in their own environment doing it.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I would say you probably get more benefit from getting a massage.
So again, it's down to. But I totally agree with that. I suffer from my neck quite a lot. I had a bad neck injury years ago through rugby, and I suffer quite a lot from that. But I know when I foam roll, if I try and foam my upper back, I just don't get it. It's nowhere near. When I'm suffering, I don't get the same. Whereas wife, she's done a sports massage, and if she gets me on bed, and there's no comparison. I can always fix it a lot better through actual massage. So
yeah,
I agree.
But you can like I have patients who come in and my perspective when they came to see me in the clinic was, you come and see me maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. What are you doing in that time in between to help yourself? Because the effects of the massage as well are not permanent, so they'd always have an exercise program, but they might have some work to do, say with a massage ball or something when if they did stiffen up that they could do at home, and the key thing there is just finding the right position. So stick the massage ball down a football sock and then drape it over your shoulder while you're against the wall, and it just means you don't spend half your time doing a massage chasing after a ball that's flipped out and is rolled across the floor and under the sofa again or something like that. You can work into it, you can move it. It's thinking about how you're doing it as well as why you're doing it.
Cool. You've taught me something there about the sock. I've never used that before, and I drop that ball all the time.
I get a couple of raised eyebrows when I've mentioned it.
How have I never thought of that one?
We've got less than a minute left of our time, guys, so I think we need to wrap up there. So a big thank you to Ed for coming and giving your expertise today. If anybody's heard something from you today or like to find out or contact you or find out more about your head, how could they get hold of you if they wanted to?
I'm on Twitter.
Are you sure you don't look convinced?
LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm not very good with the old socials. Twitter is EP Sports Therapy. EP Sports Therapy. So you can get hold of me on there. LinkedIn, if you just search Ed Pratt,
Right.
might find me.
We can
Eventually,
put a link.
I can't remember what that is.
We can
I'll
put
send
the
it
link
to
on
you,
here
Mark.
as well, can't we?
Yeah, we'll put your links in there.
I'll send you the handles and stuff. All right.
Great. Thank you,
Thanks
everybody.
for joining us, Ed. Cheers for info.
Pleasure, guys. Nice to meet you both.
Cheers,
All right.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked the episode, we'd like you to share with us that on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter. You can listen again on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a rating and a review, and any comments would be more than appreciated. And hopefully you'll tune back next time for our next episode.